In the past, Ares often spent his nights listening to a streamer known as Apollo. Her voice was his only solace at that time. Back then, her streams were small and intimate, sometimes consisting of only the two of them talking. Every night, she would end her stream by telling her listeners that she loved them, a simple phrase that stayed deeply etched in Ares' heart. As the new school year begins, a nervous teacher struggles through an important announcement that Furin Girls Academy has merged with Furin Boys, turning the school into a co-ed institution. Before the teacher can fully explain, Ares abruptly interrupts, clearly dissatisfied with the fumbling introduction. He confidently introduces himself to the class, boldly declaring that he will one day lead Japan and therefore cannot tolerate imperfection. He ends his introduction with a respectful bow, but quickly shocks everyone by admitting that he is only 99% perfect. To become complete, he claims he needs all the girls in the class to tell him that they love him. During the break, the boys swarm Ares, angrily accusing him of ruining their reputation and making the girls wary of them. Ares sees no problem with his actions, insisting that they should be grateful. A blonde girl soon approaches him, openly flirting after assuming he comes from a wealthy family. Ares steps toward her, causing her to retreat in surprise at his boldness. After listening carefully to her voice, he bluntly tells her that it lacks impact. Noticing the time, Ares abruptly announces that he needs to use the bathroom, explaining that he relieves himself at the same time every day. As he leaves, the girls whisper about how strange he is, while the boys explain that Ares is searching for a girl whom he only recognizes by voice. Ares overhears them in the hallway, carefully listening to the girls' voices, but none of them match the one he is seeking. As he walks on, he receives a message from his mother. Once notifications like these filled him with excitement, as they usually meant Apollo's stream had started. To Ares' shock, he suddenly hears Rika softly whisper, "I love you," right behind him, teasingly reminding him that break time is almost over. She also points out that he still hasn't gone to the toilet. Flustered, Ares hurriedly rushes off to take care of his business. During lunch, Ares remains distracted, constantly replaying Rika's voice in his head. His thoughts are abruptly interrupted when a female voice echoes through the school intercom. The boys around him are immediately thrilled that the announcements are being handled by a girl. Ares, however, feels something else entirely. Without warning, he declares that he suddenly has something important to do and rushes out. He sprints through the hallways toward where he believes the broadcast room is, his heart racing at the possibility that the voice belongs to Apollo. Based on their past conversations, he knows she should be around the same age as him and lives in the same prefecture. He also remembers her dream of attending an all-girls high school with a view of the ocean. To increase his chances of meeting her, Ares had deliberately enrolled in Furin Boys, knowing that the school would eventually become co-ed by the time they reached high school. When he finally reaches the broadcast room, Ares swings the door open. Inside, he finds 4 girls staring at him in confusion. They quickly scold him for interrupting their broadcast, and Rika immediately tells Nene to mute the mic. As the girls continue reprimanding him, Ares listens closely and notices that each of them sounds like Apollo in a different way. Rika shares a similar tone, Shinobu has the same intonation and pronunciation, Iko's manner of speaking reminds him of Apollo's whispery streams, and Nene carries the same angry voice. Ares feels a deep sense of disappointment. He had believed he could recognize Apollo instantly by her voice alone, yet now he can't determine which of them she might be. The girls then ask if he plans on going pro someday. Confused, Ares listens as they explain that they joined the broadcasting club to pursue careers using their voices. Shinobu shares her dream of becoming an anchor, prompting the others to talk about their own ambitions. Their words stir another memory where Apollo once spoke of a similar dream. Ares' thoughts are cut short when Shinobu casually admits that she already knows about him, thanks to his outrageous self-introduction. But Nene kicks him and angrily calls him a creep for making such an outrageous request. Ares explains himself, insisting that he is searching for someone important. Iko asks if that person might be her as she shows him her VTuber model and admits that her shyness is part of her persona. Rika quickly jumps in to tease Ares, suggesting that he actually came all this way just to see her. To everyone's surprise, Ares calmly admits that he did, and then bluntly asks all 4 girls if any of them is Apollo. The girls stare at him in confusion, with some even wondering aloud if he's talking about the chocolate brand. Ares looks at them in disbelief. He's convinced they're lying. He reasons that Apollo may not want to reveal herself and that her disappearance from streaming is likely connected to that decision. Deciding not to push further for now, Ares turns to leave, convincing himself that he'll have plenty of chances to investigate them another day. However, the girls tell him not to come back since only club members are allowed inside the broadcast room. Ares turns back and boldly declares that he is a professional when it comes to voice work, giving him every right to join the broadcasting club. He then points out that a major flaw in their operation is their outdated equipment. Iko is the first to agree with him, admitting that the school equipment is old, but there's little they can do about it. Aries then proposes that he'll provide them with brand new equipment if they allow him to join the club. The room falls silent until Shinobu finally admits that it sounds like a good deal. Rika also agrees, casually adding that she finds Aries' voice pleasant. The compliment catches him off guard. Thanking them, Aries confidently promises to lead the club to greatness as their president, only for Nene to angrily snap back that Rika is already their president. The girls then wonder how they can repay him for the equipment. Rika smiles and says she has the perfect idea. She tells Aries to face the other direction. When he does, she and the other girls suddenly surround him with voices, all announcing that they love him. Overwhelmed and deeply embarrassed, Aries hastily declares that he needs to finish his lunch and promptly rushes out of the room. Outside, Aries is certain that one of the girls is Apollo. His thoughts drift back to her final stream. He had been the only listener when she ended the broadcast. She told everyone she loved them. Summoning his courage, Aries had responded, telling her that he loved her too. The memory makes him cringe, and he scolds himself for confessing to a girl he barely knew. Part of his urgency to find Apollo is due to that confession, since he needs it deleted. Aries is confident that he will become someone important in the future, and he cannot risk something so embarrassing being used against him. By the end of the day, the club members celebrate Aries' acceptance. They force him into odd party clothes, and although he is clearly being teased, Aries does his best to appear thankful. He almost snaps when Nene refers to him as their errand boy, but Shinobu explains that it was the only way their advisor would approve his membership. Swallowing his pride, he agrees to go along with it and promises to do his best as the club's errand boy. The following day, Aries reviews his notes and decides that he will carefully observe each of the girls. When he enters the club room, only Shinobu is there, adjusting her script for the after-school broadcast. She explains that she tends to flub her lines, so she marks difficult words. She gestures for him to stay quiet as the broadcast begins. Aries watches closely, recalling that Shinobu wants to become a news anchor. She is also the student council vice president and a model honor student. As Shinobu delivers the announcements, Aries is impressed by how clear her voice is. However, the moment she reaches the words she marked in her script, she immediately mispronounces them. It happens every time, so noticeably that Aries can't ignore it. Without thinking, he scolds her, forgetting the microphone is still on. Back in the classroom, Aries' male classmates warn him not to correct Shinobu. They insist that her habit of messing up her lines is part of her charm. Deciding it's pointless to argue, Aries leaves them behind as they continue gushing over her. Mentally, he lowers Shinobu on his list of possible Apollo candidates. Soon after, Aries overhears Nene animatedly talking about Lilikos, a comic he clearly remembers Apollo mentioning. Nene is well known for her bright, energetic personality and is also popular as an avid cosplayer. When a classmate hands her a comic and asks her to voice Lily's lines, Nene happily agrees. As she begins reading aloud, her performance is shockingly accurate, and even Aries finds himself impressed. However, she suddenly stumbles over a word. Unfortunately, she goes on to misread several more lines, unintentionally changing the story. Hearing this, Aries feels disappointed. When Nene finally notices him watching, she loudly calls him out for staring. Aries attempts to explain himself, but the people around her already view him unfavorably, so he quietly removes himself from the situation. Sitting alone on a set of steps, Aries reflects on why identifying Apollo has been so difficult. He wonders if listening to her through streams has distorted his perception of her real voice. While he's convinced that Apollo must be one of the girls in the broadcasting club, he realizes that voice alone isn't enough. He needs to match what he knows about Apollo's personality with each of them. His thoughts are interrupted when Iko suddenly speaks right beside him, startling him so that he falls forward. She quickly apologizes, explaining that she can't see well with her colored contacts. Aries recalls that Iko is an aspiring VTuber. Iko explains that she uses this spot to do short streams during break. She sets up her tablet, and Aries leans closer to observe. Iko energetically greets her viewers, reads a few live comments, and then quickly ends the stream. Aries is surprised by how short it was, but she explains that break time streams are meant to be brief. Despite this, Aries feels another wave of disappointment and excuses himself. Wandering aimlessly through the school, his frustration grows. To him, it feels like all the club members are far too relaxed. His thoughts return to Apollo, how seriously she spoke about wanting to use her voice professionally. He remembers promising Apollo that he would learn everything he could about voice work so he could support her. The two of them had sworn to work toward the professional world together. Now, Aries wonders if he's the only one who ever meant that promise. Soon, Shinobu's voice echoes through the school for announcements. Elsewhere, Iko spots Rika doing nothing and scolds her for slacking off. Rika apologizes, then wonders aloud what Aries really thinks of them. Suddenly, Aries' voice cuts through the intercom. Alarmed, the girls rush toward the broadcast room. When they arrive, they find Aries openly calling out the broadcasting club for being lax and telling the students that they shouldn't be treated like princesses. If Apollo is among them, she needs to remember their promise. Since he doesn't know which girl she is, he decides that he'll make sure all of their dreams come true. He declares over the broadcast that he will work tirelessly to guide the broadcasting club toward becoming true professionals. The moment he finishes, he's promptly kicked out of the room so the girls can take over the broadcast. His phone notifies him that Apollo is live. Aries immediately tunes in. Apollo greets him warmly, admitting that she's happy he's listening and that she was always grateful to him, even back when she barely had any viewers. She apologizes, saying she still can't reveal herself yet. Then she confesses that whenever she told her listeners that she loved them, she was always talking about him. Aries listens in silence, staring at the broadcast room door. As the girls continue their broadcast, Aries checks his phone. Apollo's message confirms his suspicion that she is part of the broadcasting club. He considers going back into the room, but ultimately decides against it. Instead, he leaves, determined to find her and fulfill their promise. The next morning, Aries gathers the girls at the beach for an early jog, explaining that running is excellent vocal training. Shinobu notices a seagull flying past with an earbud caught in its beak. Aries recognizes it as his own and suddenly sprints off in reverse to catch it, astonishing the girls with how fast he moves even while running backward. After the jog, the girls are left shocked by the fact that Aries isn't even out of breath. Nene scolds him for acting like their personal coach. Calmly, Aries removes his sunglasses and tells her that he is the perfect person to turn them into professionals. Nene is ready to argue again, but Shinobu cuts in, admitting that they really have been slacking off. Shinobu adds that they had already talked about exercising together, so this training works out well for everyone. Rika then steps forward and directly asks Aries if they can trust him with their future. Aries looks at her carefully before answering that he's serious about wanting all of them to succeed. Nene challenges him to prove it. Aries agrees, but first suggests they stop for breakfast. At that, the girls suddenly grow uneasy and try to head back toward the club room. When Aries asks why they're running away, Nene snaps that they're sweaty and need to change first. After changing, they meet at a diner. There, Aries hands each of them a notebook filled with notes outlining their weaknesses and specific ways to improve. He explains that he personally tailored each one, so their training plans differ depending on their needs. The girls are impressed by the level of detail, though Nene is bewildered by the massive stack of reading exercises assigned to her. The girls continue going through Aries' notes and notice that each of them has concrete goals meant to push them one step closer to their dream. Rika is surprised that she needs to sell at least 50 CDs during a live performance. Aries proudly explains that all of these goals are designed to build confidence. A brief silence follows until Rika asks Aries if he has ever played an instrument himself. He admits that he hasn't, so Rika points out that it takes a lot of courage to sing and perform in front of an audience. Aries insists that she should follow his plan anyway, arguing that live performance is something she must face. Rika then asks if Aries has ever been nervous before. Without hesitation, he replies that nervousness isn't part of his family. Rika stands up, cups his face, and calmly calls him a liar. To her, he's all talk, and she sees no reason to listen to his advice. With that, she quietly leaves the diner. Aries is left confused, prompting Nene to explain that he managed to make Rika angry. She adds that Rika is talented enough to write her own music, so being lectured by someone who lacks first-hand experience feels insulting. As the girls talk, they suddenly realize Aries is missing. In reality, he's crouched under the table, shaken by what Rika had said. After a moment, he starts laughing and pulls himself back up, declaring that the only way forward is to hear Rika perform. The following Wednesday after classes, Aries heads to the school courtyard. He's heard rumors that Rika holds weekly mini concerts there, drawing large crowds of female fans. As soon as the fans notice Aries, they immediately tell him to back off. He tries to explain that he's Rika's clubmate, but the crowd won't listen. Before things can escalate further, she looks out at the crowd and admits that she's nervous. Aries freezes in shock, since it's the exact same line Apollo used to say before she sang. As she begins playing an original song, Aries stares at her as she captivates both the crowd and him. In that moment, he's pulled back to the past, remembering the times Apollo would sing during her streams. Memories come flooding back. Those evenings spent listening to Apollo were some of the best moments of his life. As Rika continues to play, the idea that she might truly be Apollo suddenly feels very real. When Rika finishes her first song, Aries realizes that her similarity to Apollo is far stronger than that of the other girls. Eventually, Rika announces that she'll accept one final song request. As the girls excitedly shout out suggestions, she glances at her backpack filled with her original compositions, then briefly looks toward Aries. She can't help thinking how much she doesn't want Aries to hear her songs. After the concert ends, she bids her fans goodbye and walks over to him. With a teasing smile, she asks if his heart belongs to her now after hearing her perform. Aries immediately agrees and apologizes for doubting her. He tells her that her live performances are guaranteed to succeed. Rika's expression hardens, and she tells him that she doesn't have to listen to him, then walks off. Several days pass, and Rika starts to feel uneasy when she realizes she hasn't seen Aries around. She hears a commotion coming from the courtyard and rushes over. There, she sees Aries surrounded by girls trying to defend himself as they complain. When he notices her, he greets her and explains that he's performing. He tells her that he's been practicing to prove her wrong. Rika is left speechless by his explanation, but her attention is drawn to his hand, which is wrapped in bandages. Rika can't help but admire Aries' determination. She apologizes to the girls for forgetting to inform them that today's performance will be a duet with Aries. She then steps onto the stage beside him, leaving Aries visibly confused. Rika reassures him that he can play whatever he wants and that she'll support him. After the performance, Rika teasingly comments on how rough their concert was and asks if he finally felt nervous. Despite everything, Aries stubbornly refuses to admit it. Amused, Rika suddenly presses her ear to his chest. The move completely catches Aries off guard. Trapping him in place, she smirks when she hears his heart racing. On another day after classes, Nene leaves the club room ahead of everyone. Iko suggests that she's probably up to something shady. Aries reminds her about her goal of passing the language exam. Furious, Nene curses at him and slams the clubroom door. Aries suspects that Nene might be getting herself into trouble, but Shinobu calmly reassures him that she isn't doing anything wrong. Still unconvinced, Aries decides to follow Nene. He sees her enter an empty classroom and quietly approaches the door. He watches Nene reading the comic out loud. Her voice is surprisingly soft and sweet, but something about her delivery feels off. Unable to hold back, Aries slides the door open and bluntly tells her that her acting is terrible. He sees the cover and realizes it's a romance manga he's never heard of. Nene is shocked by his ignorance, loudly declaring that Knightly Love is the hottest comic around. She immediately launches into an enthusiastic explanation of the story, which is a forbidden romance between a knight and a princess. She describes her favorite scene where the princess hides her feelings by pretending to brush dirt from the knight's armor, secretly planting a kiss on his helmet when no one is watching. So absorbed in her explanation, Nene doesn't notice how close Aries has moved. At that moment, Aries notices an announcement printed on the comic's cover stating that auditions are being held for the anime adaptation. With her secret exposed, Nene insists that she needs to practice alone. Aries refuses, saying that her success is now part of his responsibility, so he has every reason to stay. When Nene still won't accept his help, Aries starts revealing his own embarrassing moments one after another, blushing as he speaks. He tells her that if she's going to be embarrassed, then he'll be embarrassed alongside her. Seeing how serious he is, she finally sits down and explains that she plans to audition. The problem is that she's never been in a relationship, so she has no idea how to act it out. When she accuses Aries of not taking her seriously, he calmly says that what she needs is experience. Without warning, Aries kneels on one knee, takes her hand, and asks her to be his girlfriend. Nene freezes, then immediately explodes in disbelief. Aries explains that he was simply acting out a line from the comic. He tells her to accept his confession so she can get used to acting like she's in a relationship before the auditions begin. Nene stubbornly refuses, but Aries presses on. He accuses her of not taking her dreams seriously if she isn't willing to act for just 3 weeks to prepare for the role. From the look on her face, Aries knows he's struck a nerve. The next day, the two of them arrive at school holding hands, instantly shocking the entire student body. Nene is visibly nervous, while Aries seems to be enjoying himself, even reciting lines straight from the comic. At one point, he pulls her closer and casually offers to carry her on his back. Nene's face burns red as she realizes that the final chapter of the comic includes a kiss between the two leads. She starts to wonder if Aries intends to act out the entire story. News of their relationship quickly reaches the broadcasting club. While they accept it on the surface, something feels off. As time passes, the club notices that Aries and Nene argue far more than they act affectionately. By the 19th day, it's clear they bicker constantly and don't resemble lovers at all. Shinobu believes this means the two have grown closer and more comfortable with each other. On the 20th day, Aries and Nene find themselves alone in the same empty classroom. The deadline is close and there's only the kissing scene left. At first, Nene worries about her chapped lips. Then her thoughts spiral and she starts to suspect that Aries went through all of this just to kiss her. She's on the verge of yelling at him until she notices Aries quietly studying the comic. In that moment, she realizes he truly wants to help her. Reluctantly, she admits to herself that he's actually a better actor than she is and that working with him has helped her improve. Bracing herself, Nene prepares her lips, fully expecting Aries to initiate the kiss. Instead, he calmly tells her to rest well for the audition. Caught off guard, she asks if they are going to practice the kiss scene. Ari's answers that they won't and explains that she should only kiss someone she truly loves. Nene doesn't expect such thoughtfulness from him, and though it leaves her flustered, she chooses to hide it behind anger. She calls him an idiot and storms toward the door. Before she leaves, Aris softly wishes her good luck. Hesitating for just a moment, Nene admits that she had a little fun during the past 3 weeks. The following day, Nene announces that she didn't pass the audition. The news hits Aris so hard that he faints on the spot, overwhelmed after all the preparation they went through. Nene quickly adds that it isn't his fault. Aris apologizes for not being able to predict the outcome. The comic is held over his face to hide his regret. Watching him like that, Nene suddenly recalls her favorite scene. Deciding it's the perfect chance, she leans in and gently kisses the book covering his face. As she turns to leave, Aris grabs her hand and asks if she kissed him. Then, without hesitation, he bluntly asks if she's fallen for him. Enraged, Nene flips him over her shoulder and loudly declares that she hates him before storming out of the classroom. The outburst startles the broadcasting club members waiting outside. They rush in to find Aris on one knee. Shinobu calmly reassures him that Nene was clearly lying just now. The others smile knowingly, since Nene's ears had turned bright red when she left. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss new episode every week.